Recording. Sick. Hi, Nori.
Hi, Cameron.
Long time no see. How are you doing?
It's been so long. I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty okay, as I mentioned on your video. I'm feeling great. How has your week been?
Let's see. I've been working on my lecture recital for the end of the semester, so it's a lot of practicing this week for me. But besides that, it's been okay.
Well, that's lovely to hear. Tell me about the recital.
So I'm a senior this year, so I'm working on a lecture recital where I will be performing works by Beethoven, Jano Hubi, and Fritz Kreisler.
Wow.
And then the way it's structured is that I'll give some background about the composer's biography, I'll demonstrate some of their techniques, and then I'll perform the actual piece. And then I repeat that for the other two pieces.
That sounds quite intense.
Yeah.
Is it a challenge for you?
Well, the good thing is that I got a head start on the pieces, so I started the Beethoven last fall for my jury piece.
Okay.
And then over that winter break, I started the Huvi.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went away and studied abroad, so I didn't touch my violin for a bit, but it's okay. So yeah, I'm trusting my teacher when she said I just need to fine tune it, and I just feel like it's a bit hard. The challenge right now is putting it together with the accompaniment.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the real challenge right now.
It certainly does sound it. I skipped over some basic introductory things, so hi, Nori. Where are you from, actually?
I'm from Northern Virginia, 2 hours from here, outside DC.
Would I know the would I know the town?
It's Annandale.
Yeah.
There's Fairfax.
Okay, I know roundabout. All right, cool. So not too bad a drive.
No, not at all.
Are you doing anything besides music?
I'm minoring in anthropology.
So this class is very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. That's it.
Oh, okay. That's it. That's a lot. Don't discount yourself. That's still impressive. So, given the repertoire that you've told me and the things I already know about you, you play violin and you seem pretty passionate about it.
Yeah.
How long have you been playing violin?
I started when I was 7 years old, so I think that's 13 years now.
Wow.
14 maybe, if my math is right.
That's very impressive. Did you begin yourself on violin, or were you kind of edged along to play?
So, I have an older brother, so he started before me. Okay. And then I was a child, so I got jealous about the amount of time my mom spent with him.
Yeah, that tracks.
So, that's initially the reason why I wanted to start. But once I got going, I actually wanted to quit quite a few times, but my teacher was very scary and intimidating. So my mom would say, "You can quit, but you have to tell her." So
dear. Wow. No, that's a strong one.
Yeah.
But at this moment in time, it is not. You don't play violin out of peer pressure.
No.
Okay.
I'm not being intimidated to go into my career for violin.
So then, what is pushing you there?
I want to be a private violin teacher.
Okay.
So I have been in some leadership roles, like in orchestra or chamber, where I help out other people when they're struggling, and I did consider being like a public school general orchestra teacher, but I found that I worked better as like one-on-one. Just so many people were just so overwhelming, and I felt like I couldn't really change as much. I want to make lessons really fun for kids, because I know a lot. I know going into it that a lot of those kids will be under force by their parents. But my goal is to make it as enjoyable as it can be for them.
Yeah, I think that's important. As someone in the music world, I do know that violin can be pretty competitive. Is that also something you want to like help mitigate, like in violin lessons, not feeling as though they have to be better?
Oh, yeah. I didn't put it into those words, but
Sure.
I guess so, yeah. Just my motto was going to be that each also one of the reasons why I want to do private violin lessons is that there's no standardized test.
Mhm.
Like we have to get you to know this piece by this date.
Right,
There's nothing
right.
in that.
There's no deadlines.
Yeah, each kid is different, or adult if I teach adults
Right.
too. So if I can see that they're trying and they're struggling than another student that I have, that's okay. You know, we can go as quick or as slow as they can.
Very true. Yeah, that's very admirable of you, Nori.
Thanks.
I must say. It's a very responsible task to put on yourself. So pivoting a little bit, what kind of music do you listen to for fun?
I mostly listen to Broadway music.
Okay, we have a lot to talk about.
Okay.
Tell me what kind of musicals you like.
I mostly like more modern music. Like I grew up with like Mamma Mia. I know that's like a jukebox musical.
I'm not gonna criticize.
And Into the Woods, and obviously like Hamilton and everything with Manuel Miranda.
Obviously.
Yeah, because I love like stories and reading, and I also love music, so that just kind of combines the two.
It's a very good synthesis of it, yeah. Well, you know, I actually did audition for a piece lately with Agony, so.
Really?
Not amazingly, but I did do it.
Wait, which? Because it's a duet.
I sung both parts.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
It was really funny looking. You must remember, this was during the era of Zoom everything. So I recorded myself singing both of the parts. And it was an interesting accompaniment. I probably have it somewhere on a Google Drive if you really want to see it.
That is glorious.
Believe me, I'm in the same world with you. So, Broadway and violin are a little different. Mm-hmm. Do they at all interplay in your world of musicness?
You know, not really, unfortunately. There, like in my high school, there was options to be in the pit for any musicals
of course.
Our productions did, but I only did it once because it just seemed like so much time consuming.
It definitely is. Definitely is.
But there was one time where my friend was composing a piece for a production.
Wow.
I know, right? And
it's not something you casually do. That's really impressive.
Yeah, and it had violin, flute, and I forget the third instrument. But we recorded that, and then it played on the speakers during the performance, and that was really fun.
That is very cool.
I did consider briefly when I was finding career-wise what I want to do, being a pit player in like Broadway or something.
Yeah.
But it just seemed so out of reach, you know.
That is a hard goal for sure.
As you said, like the competitiveness of being a violin performer is way different than being a teacher.
Oh,
so
yeah, certainly. You can always have more violin teachers. The amount of pit spots is certainly more limited.
My mom's always saying that the orchestra players who originated Wicked are still there. Their contracts are never ending.
What?
So they are playing the same piece over and over again because they can. There is no change for them. They have tenure.
I would probably go crazy in that situation.
Right.
Like, yes, that's a very cool job and manageable, but like playing the same thing for years, I would go bonkers.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten like a libretto book that you just play the violin for or something?
Libretto?
Yeah, it's essentially the score of a musical for
I don't, but that sounds, I don't know, that would be kind of cool just to see what it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just finger along to it a little bit, just hear kind of what it sounds like. I know I always like to sit down at the piano and like plunk out my various songs, like learning what the notes are just kind of from ear, so it's helpful when you have a guide.
I feel like that kind of goes into like how I was brought up training wise, is that if I use up some practice time for fun, I feel like even though it's like fun and enjoyable, I'm kind of messing around and I'm still playing. It feels like I could be, working towards something. So it kind of goes back to that.
So did you have a lot of pressure, like you said?
And it was probably more like self-pressure, because, like,
Sure.
we're all our own worst judge and everything.
Oh, yeah. Jury and executioner at that.
Yeah. So it always felt like, oh, I could be doing something else, or I could be working on this when I'm just playing. I had the score for Lindsay Sterling's Greatest Showman medley, and so sometimes if I like want to warm up, instead of doing like a boring scale, I'll just like play some of that just to goof around.
It's fun. Like,
Yeah.
of course you would want to do that. I don't think you should feel guilty about that at all. It's a great way to warm up. So, I don't know about... this might be a sensation that I myself experience, but when I am listening to music, sometimes I kind of hone in on the percussion, and I listen to what the drum is doing, and I think to myself, oh, okay, this is what it sounds like, this is how they're doing it. Is that ever the case with you with violin? You'll hear a song and you'll kind of listen to it and hear what they're doing, and you can imagine playing it?
Yes, it doesn't, of course, happen as much in like pop.
Sure.
Or
there are fewer heavy metal violins.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But if I'm listening to an orchestral piece, I'll be able to point out what the violin is, and I'll try to like imagine fingering it, or like, oh, they're on this string now, I probably would have shifted, or like, just seeing like how their sound comes out, maybe in comparison to mine, or like, now I really want to play this piece.
Sure, yeah. And it's a very strong sensation of just being able to connect to music and just say, hey, I want to do that. I can do that.
Yeah.
Which, that said, this is a very general question, but how important is music to you? I know it's like, your career and whatever, but like...
Besides that.
Besides the obvious part, like, what does music mean to you?
Like you said, I really like listening to music when I'm doing other stuff. I usually listen to instrumental or like piano versions of maybe Broadway or pop music when I'm doing readings, because I can't listen to lyrics and read at the same time.
It's too much mental juggling.
Yeah, but on the flip side, I like listening to the lyrical stuff when I'm writing essays, or I'm like doing like the dishes, or I'm cleaning up and stuff like that. So I don't know, it just makes the more mundane tasks more enjoyable for me.
I think that's a really good way to put it. It makes chores much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Is there anything I didn't get to ask you that you'd like to mention about your musical life, or musical taste, or musical distaste?
I mean, distaste, I hate Cats the musical.
Everyone hates Cats the musical. Whoever doesn't. I had an ex once who loved it, and I was like, okay, alright.
That's why you
I tolerated it for a little bit.
Okay.
No, that's not why I broke up with them, but I'm certainly glad it's not in my life anymore. I'll put it that
Oh
way.
my god. Okay, that's it then. Alright.
Well, I think we've reached about the pinnacle we could get to. Well, thank you, Nori. This was a very fun conversation.
Thank you, Cameron.